Good evening, everybody. Hope everybody is well. Thanks for dropping in. Ivan, how you doing? Thanks for watching. We're going to let a couple of people drop in. I'm just going to get myself settled here. So, welcome into another live lesson. Obviously, today's lesson is on a Wednesday instead of a Tuesday. So, a few people might suddenly get something appear on their Facebook now telling them to drop in. And they're not expecting it, but we'll let a couple of people drop in now. As I said, hope everybody is very well. Let me just get myself set here. I've actually made the standard schoolboy error of leaving my phone in the house, or my other phone in the house. So I'm going to be squinting a bit to read your messages again, because they're over on the screen on the other side of the room. But I've figured out how to make the text bigger. So text a bit bigger now so I can read your messages a little bit. So say hi, let me know where you're from. Let me know you can hear me. That's the main thing. As you guys who come regularly know, I've had a new system put in here the last couple of weeks, and I'm tweaking it each day. And I'm kind of petrified, really, that one day I'm just going to press a button and I'm going to sit here for 45 minutes chatting to myself. So if you can hear, please let me know. Let's have a quick look. Right, let's get some sheets up and let's have a little chat. Right, so if you're new into this, my name's Geoff. I'm a pro drummer based in the UK, in Birmingham, or north of Birmingham. These lessons are happening over lockdown, and we're talking about all sorts of things. We're doing lessons on Tuesday, Thursdays and Saturdays. It tends to be aimed towards beginners on the Tuesday, aimed towards a little bit more advanced on the Thursday, and aimed to much more advanced on the Saturday. However, I'm aware that people drop in of all abilities, so what I tend to do is I talk at a little bit of a more beginner level in the lesson tonight, but I'll still give you guys who are more advanced some stuff to do towards the end. If you can just hang in here towards the end, there's going to be some interesting ideas. Tonight we're looking at expanding and growing your linear ideas. Now I've been a bit obsessed with linear stuff for about 15 years. So I first came across gospel chops, it would have been called at the time, wouldn't it? And I started trying to figure out what these patterns were, started getting into linear stuff. I bought a few books. Mike Johnston bought his book out. I'll talk a little bit about him maybe later. And then there's a couple of standard books, but the concept of linear is quite new, I suppose, compared to a lot of things in drumming. And so, because I didn't have a lot of materials when I first started, I've got sheets and sheets of things that I created on my computer, and some of the stuff out of that was useless and wasted wasted hours and hours and hours, and some of the stuff was a little bit more useful, and I'm going to show you that stuff today. So, with these lessons, what I have to do is kind of assume that you can read music. If you can't, it's not a problem. You can just kind of copy me, parrot fashion. What you can see then is what I've got written on here. How to grow your ideas. How to grow your... It's anything, but in particularly today, it's going to be linear ideas. Now, we're going to take a simple pattern, which is the one you can see on there, which we'll come to in one moment. We're going to take that pattern and we're going to put it around the kit. And I'm going to show you ways, not necessarily to put it around the kit, because anyone can do that, but ways that I would go from having a simple idea to a much more complex one that I can use in lots of ways. So enough talking. As I said before, let us know where you're from. Let us know if you enjoy the lessons. As you're watching, if you want to type anything in, I can see your questions up on the computer over here, and I can do my best to answer questions. Towards the end of the lesson, we'll have a full-on question answer about anything you want to chat about. The lessons tend to be about 15-20 minutes of stuff, and at the end then we'll have a chat, and that can go on for anything from 2 minutes to 45 minutes. So let's get stuck in. So grab your sticks. If you haven't got sticks, get your hands on your legs where you're sat. Stick your phone in front of you somewhere, and we'll have a little look at this. Do I use a power tune chop? Okay, good question, Ivan. I'm going to answer that at the end of this lesson. We'll talk a bit about tuning for you. To answer your question quickly though, no, I don't. I haven't got a good ear, and so I rely on technology to help me. I have though used something called a tone generator. So on the internet, if you go and find a tone generator, it will create a tone for you, which is basically notes, so like boo, that kind of thing. And I have tried tuning to one of those, which did help actually, because what you'll find is when you put one of those tone generators on, and you play it, it will make things resonate at different frequencies. So if I have one now, I could make it just go, and at certain frequencies that I've just sang, the tom will suddenly start to vibrate, and then you know, well, that's tuned at that at the moment. So at the end though, I'll do that. Is it advisable? He's just asked. It is if you've got a good ear. So if you're a guy who's already played another instrument and you can hear pitch quite well, tuning drums is fairly easy for you, right? If you're like me and you jump straight on drums and didn't play melodic instruments, to hear the pitch is not as easy. So I use the tune bar, I use things like that, which we'll talk about towards the end of the lesson, all right? Hopefully that helps you a bit. Appreciate the question. Right, let's get stuck in. So let's check I've got some sound. Okay, so we've got here then linear example. So linear just means using one limb at a time. You can see that what I've got here is 1, 2, 3, 4 with my hands, right, left, and then bass, right, left, bass. For complete beginners, take you a few minutes to get this. I'm going to go nice and slow. I'll put my metronome on. More advanced guys, just play it double the speed we're playing it, all right? Well, I'm going to play it 16th notes. If you're going to fly through this, play it 30 seconds. Real slowly then, here we go. What I like to do when I'm first learning a pattern is I find a way of putting it around the kit that means that I can easily memorize it without necessarily having to count or anything like that. Now, with the 16th notes, most of you will know we should be counting 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 E and right, but all I'm going to do is I'm going to come down the drums. So if you have a look at this view from above, I'm just going snare, rack tom, floor tom, floor tom. That's my first 4. And I'm simply going bass, right, left, bass between these two. Metronome wise, I just stick 16th notes on. The metronome I use on here, it's just called Pro Metronome. It's got a fella who kind of talks to us, but his voice is not ideal because he's not very clear, in all honesty, but I'll put it on. If it's too loud or too quiet, let me know. That's not him. Here he is.
2 E and dot 3 and
so I'm going to play it in time with that.
1 E and dot
2
E and dot
3
3 and dot 4 E and dot 1 E and dot 2 E and dot 3 E and dot 4 E and dot 1 E and dot 2 E and dot 3 E and dot 4 E and dot 1 E and dot 2 E and dot 3 E and dot 1 E and dot 2 E and dot 3 E and dot 4 E and dot 1 E and dot 2 E and dot 3 E and dot 4 E and dot 1 E and dot 2 E and dot 3 E and dot 4 E and dot 2 E and dot 3 E and dot 4 E and dot.
So what I would want to do now is I want to sit on that for like 10 minutes. Now, how many people are going to sit and watch me do that for 10 minutes? Right, hardly anyone. Right, if you've got your sticks in your hand, maybe, but a lot of people I am aware are going to just sit and watch this on Facebook and be like, he's played that more than 4 times, I'm going. Right, so at this point here, if you're watching this and it's 3 days time, pause the video now, play that for 10 minutes, come back. However, right, we need to start talking quickly then about how we are going to expand and grow this idea. So the process that I go through, I stole this from Mike Johnston. So Mike Johnston, you've seen this on, Mike Johnston's a guy who has big success on YouTube. He was the first guy, I believe, to do online lessons, and he's awesome, all right? So the concept, though, that I stole from him was just something that he had in his book, and I sort of expanded on it. So what he did, or what he would do, is he would take a standard pattern like we've just done. But then what would happen next is you would accent all the right hands. So all the lefts now are quiet as you can play them, all the rights are nice and loud. And what happens in your brain now is you get a whole different tune, melody, which makes it easier for some people, certainly more musical for some people. So now I'm going to put my right hand on my rack tom, left hand on the snare, and I'll play the same pattern like this. Now then it's much more interesting, especially if I right, but we're not going to blaze it to begin with, we're going to start nice and slow, right? So let's bring the screen down so you guys who are reading can join in. Anyone dropping in? We're doing linear beats today, and I'm teaching you how to advance any linear beat, right? I'm teaching this real simple one. You could learn the hardest linear beat you can find in the world. Just go through this same template. So we play it a bunch of times in one spot. We play it a bunch of times around the kit. Now we're at the point where what we do is you play the right hands nice and loud, left hands nice and quiet. So letter C, let's go.
2 E and dot 3 E and dot 4 E and dot
1
1 E and dot
2
2 E and dot
3
3 E and dot 4 E and dot 1 E and dot 2 E and dot 3 E and dot 4 E and dot 1 E 2 E N dot 3 E N dot.
A little bit faster then. And Ty just said, he's made a good point actually, so that linear round sounds like samba. So that's the whole exact point of this, is when you take a standard linear pattern and then you suddenly bring out the right hands, what was nothing like samba before, like this kind of idea. Suddenly, just by playing the right's loud and the left's quiet, gives a whole new meaning. And when I move it around, I get a little bit more interest. With any of this stuff, obviously you can always go extremes and just blast it super fast. That gets interest. I don't get to do a lot of that stuff. If I played that in the bands I play in, they'd hate me. That's for YouTube. Right, so accents, right hands, right? Can you do left-handed accents? I'm sure someone's going to ask me that if I don't say. I don't normally bother, right? I'm right-handed. Should I? Yeah, definitely should, right? If I've got enough time to practice, I should do my right hand and then I should do it with my left hand. But often I don't. I just do the right hand. Now, the reason for this is one of the things I've learned from playing drums for a long, long time now is that there's too many patterns in the world for you to learn every single one, especially if you've got a little brain like mine. So what I do is I go with the ones that I take to fastest, and I'm likely to remember those. The amount of stuff that I've learned in my life that I've completely forgotten about is ridiculous. So I'm a lot more aware now as I get older that I might as well home in on certain ones and get them really good rather than try and learn loads and they're all a bit grey. Any questions while I'm doing this? Just chuck questions in right away. I can see the questions appearing on the computer and I'll do my best to answer that. So anyone just dropping in, we're doing linear beats. Tonight's linear beats is going to be you can learn any linear pattern. I'm giving you a particular one to do and I'm showing you how I expand it to go from a simple idea to a much more difficult one. For anyone the very first time, these lessons kind of happen on a Tuesday, Thursday and a Saturday. You can see I'm aiming at different people on those lessons, and this is happening since lockdown over in the UK. We're still on lockdown, and it will happen while we're on lockdown. Will it happen after? I don't know yet, in honesty. I can't promise that because I normally am teaching private lessons at this point. Okay, next. So play as a groove. Well, all that means is instead of moving around the kit like we think of when we do linear stuff, leave your right hand on the hi-hat and leave your left hand on the snare. Now we've got lots of ways of doing that. If we stick with the one we just done, where the rights are loud and the lefts are quiet, we're going to get this. So I could be playing a simple groove. And it's suddenly a little bit more interesting, yeah? I could do it with 8 notes. What I'm also going to do though is I'm going to move where those accents are. Right, one moment, because I've just seen a question. I don't want to miss these questions. So, can I do some push-pull? Yes, maybe at the end of the lesson I'll talk about push-pull a little bit and what metronome I'm using. So the metronome I use is just called Pro Metronome. I don't know why they've got such a weak name, but that's what they call it, and it's on Android. Do they sell it on iPhone? I'm told that they do, but I don't have one here. I think it's called exactly the same thing. Maybe someone can throw into the feed what it's called. So you can't really see it from above, but it's just called Pro Metronome. I think you have to pay to get some of the more advanced features, but it's free. And I think to pay, it's like £1.70 or £2 or something like that. If you're from a different country, you're going to have to figure out the cost of that. But it's a decent metronome. I quite like it. I don't know if you can see it there. No, not really. Type in the internet, it'll soon come up. Pro Metronome. The best voices are on the Roland modules. So I've got a Roland kit the other side of the room that you can't really see. One day I might bring that over here because it's got a nice staccato. 1 E and a 2 E and a. That guy in there is a little bit like 1 E and a 2. So anything fast, you lose your preciseness. Okay, so I was just showing you how to do it. Right hand on the hi-hat. Now to make a groove, what we really need though is some loud snares, isn't it? Otherwise, if I just play this, if I played this all day, there's not that many people going to dance to it. All of a sudden, if I go, suddenly it's a bit more interesting. So we need the same thing to happen in this. So what I would then do, I would take the same thing. So what you see there with letter D. I'd either bring my right hand back to the snare, like this. So what I was doing then is I was taking this guy here that you can see moving up and down there, and I was making him a snare drum. So with my right hand. So that's one way of making it have a backbeat. Or I bring one of the other rights back, right, which could be any of them. How many rights are there? 1, 2, 3 of them that I could bring back. Or I bring out some of those lefts. Now for me, I think the left that I'm most likely, well, I see, I'm playing in a moment, but my gut instinct is it's going to be that one there that I'm going to bring from being a quiet one to being a loud one. Let's see. Right, I'm going to stay slow here because I'm a bit where I'm going a bit fast here for beginners. Let me play it nice and slow with the metronome.
And 1 E and dot
2
E and dot
3
E and dot 4 E and dot 1 E and dot 2 E and dot 3 E and dot 4 E and dot 1 E and dot 2 E and dot 3 E and dot 4 E and dot 1 E and dot 2 E and dot.
So that'd be the one that I thought I was going to do.
And dot 2 E and dot 3 and dot 4.
The other one then will be this guy here. Now actually, in hindsight, having just played it, that's probably going to be the one. I'll put it up here just so you can see. That one there is going to be the one that I'm going to play loud with my left hand.
One E and dot 2 E and dot 3 E and dot 4 E and dot 1 E and dot 2 E and dot 3 E and dot 4 E and dot 1 E and dot 2 E and dot 3 E and dot 4 E and dot 1 E and dot 2 E and dot 3 E and dot 4 E and dot 1 E and dot.
Go faster. And what I really want to get to the point of though, so I play that for 10, 15, 20 minutes, is be able to bring different ones back. So sometimes I make the first one, sometimes. I just try and stuff out until eventually I get fluent enough with it. Now I can't get fluent enough with it in the 30 seconds I've just had there, but I'm not going to make you sit through me watching it for sit through watching me play it for 20 minutes. All right. So next one, let's move forward. So where are we going next? So this for me, this is the stuff that's not in the Mike Johnson stuff. This is stuff where I've taken it a bit further. So for me, this is where it starts to really get its own colour, which is starting to play its swung. So I go for everything swinging it. So with the pattern now, swing just means instead of playing 1 E and a 2 E and a, I'm making it sound like 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2. So if you're not done this stuff before, Jack and Jill and Jack and Jill and Jack and Jill, loads of nursery rhymes are swung, all right? So if I play that first 4 pattern, 1, 2, 3, 4, bass, right, left, right, and I see one of these written above it, sneaky these are, right? So what these are is this is a lazy man's way of writing it swung. Now, when I say lazy, I mean like the normal way, right? The easiest way tends to be the quickest and the most efficient. So what it's telling you here is whenever you see 2 of these notes, whenever you see some 16th notes, instead of playing it like that, play it as if it's a triplet and you're playing the first note of a triplet and the third note of a triplet. Now, I need to make sure I don't lose anybody when I say that, right? When I play it, you'll be able to hear it like power fashion, right? I play it, you play it, and so on. But I want to make sure that people understand the science behind this, right? So if I go close, if I've got 2 notes here, right, in a certain amount of space, and instead I want to squash in 3 notes like that, then what it's saying is take away the middle one. So I end up with the first and the third note. So I'm going 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1. So everything that I play that was 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 is now 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a. So I'm using the same numbers, but I'm just saying the way I sang it. I sang it swung. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E. Now I can play at half the speed of that and then count it as eighth notes, as in like 1 chiplet, 2 chiplet, 3 chiplet, and I can go 1, let 2, let 3, let 4, let, right? But for what we're doing today, I don't think any of you guys need that. I think we can just play this song straight away. So let's try playing it. I'll play it on the snare drum, and then we'll move it around. Just give me 10 seconds to straighten this screen up. Anyone just dropping in, we are doing linear stuff. This isn't necessarily the beat that we're doing, but what we're doing is we're going through a whole process of how to go from a simple linear beat to, well, they're not necessarily much more advanced, but just giving you lots of options to do with a linear beat. So we've gone from the basic one, right-handed accents, playing it as a groove, and now we're starting to play it swung. So here's the pattern. 1, 2. Now if I go back to the start of the lesson then, when I was talking about coming down the drums like this, so I don't have to think about it, I'm going to play that one, just in case anyone's wondering. So over here is the same pattern written out, but actually written as swung, rather than just having that little picture written above. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to get the metronome to help me check if my time is correct on the da 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 da. Now I tend to squash mine a little bit lazy, so not quite far enough apart. So far enough apart would be like da 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 da. Too close would be da 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 da. So let's get the metronome to help us out. So this metronome, pro metronome, it's just called, I can set it so that it's got a nasty beep on that I love. Most people don't enjoy this, but it's got the ability to do this, which is awesome, I think. So come on, come back, get that in. 1 second. So I've got perfectly played shuffle. Too slow though, right? So we're going to double the speed. So that's 160 or just about. So I'm going to be playing 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a. If I need a bit of help, I might put an accent on like that. So let's go through the process. Next up, right hand's allowed. The groove. Groove with the accents in. And so all I do then is I take the speed right up. This is a fun one, I think. 1, 2. So the next stage is I play something swung. And eventually then you get to the point where you can start to ad-lib it. Now we're flowing through this stuff, right? This stuff needs time, reps, lots and lots of reps to get to just to get to that point there. Right, there's two directions then we're going to take it here then, two final ones. One is, right, when you teach someone or you learn to play, say, paradiddles, you start playing this, don't you? You go like... You play lots of paradiddles in a row. The truth is, when you see drummers playing paradiddles, they might play one paradiddle, then a flamjag, then a couple of linear beats, and so it's something that you throw into a sentence. So if you learn a new word, if we just learn the word memory, right, we're not going to go memory. We might use it in a sentence, right? In a sentence even, right? We've got to try and think of that with these patterns, and that's why earlier when I said there's just millions of patterns we can use, same as there's millions of words we can use, right? We've all got words in our language that we know, but we don't use in our general sentences. So what we're trying to do is make sure we use fills that are going to be usable for us when we play drums. So this particular pattern, or the straight one, trying to throw it in with other things so you get an idea that I don't have to just keep playing that beat. I can play that beat, put something else next to it. Okay, I'm going to take this in one more direction, right? This is for the advanced guys now. Where are we going to go with this? So, as I mentioned earlier, in these lessons, towards the end of the lesson, what we do is we do question and answer. If people have got questions about anything to do with drumming, now's your chance to start typing them in. There's a delay between you typing it and it appearing on my screen, you see, right? So if you start typing now, I'll be able to do my best to answer those questions. Could be about anything, could be about the lesson we've done today, could be about some technique. I remember that we had a lesson earlier, just a little bit about push and pull. I'm not the push and pull expert, I'll be honest with you, but I'll show you some stuff that we might try and do with push and pull. That's certainly something I'm going to try and answer in a moment. If you've got any questions, please type those in now. Right, so for the more advanced guys, right, I certainly wouldn't expect someone who's beginner or even intermediate really, unless you're really into getting good, trying to worry about this. But when we get a pattern down, eventually it goes into what we sort of call like muscle memory. Now muscle memory is rubbish, right? There's no well, at least not that we know of at the moment, no memory cells in our muscles, all right? So it's all coming from the brain, so it's brain memory, all right? But what we start to feel like is when we play something, say for instance paradiddles, I can play paradiddles and I can talk to you at the same time, or think about one for my dinner, or the wife could come in and I could sort of start talking to her while I'm playing them. Once something gets to that point, you know that you've got it ingrained in you, all right? So it's autonomous, that's probably a better word. Now with this particular pattern that we've got here then, when we've got the 1, 2, 3, 4, bass, right, left, bass, 1, 2, 3, 4, bass, right, left, bass, what we've got is we've got a movement there. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that movement now and put it into the other meter types, the other subdivisions. So the other subdivisions, the first obvious one to use is our triplets, which I've got written here. And like I said, this ain't going to be easy, right? So don't go learning that beat and then thinking, oh, I can just do it in triplets. You're going to have to master that beat before you can do this. So what I've got now is I've got the same physical pattern. So if I don't give you any time, it's going to sound the same. It only makes sense time-wise if I keep a pulse in there. So I'll put a metronome on, see if I can figure this out. But I'll talk you through how I would learn it right now. Now, I don't really like counting sixes, 1 triplet and triplet, 2 triplet and triplet, 3 triplet and triplet, 4 triplet and triplet. But that's often the best way of doing it. So the only thing that I would do maybe different to that is, if I don't get this, is I might just count 6. I might just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? But what I'm going to start doing now is I'm going to break those 4 chunks up there, say the first 6, as if they're 4 separate fills now. So the first one goes, I'll do the fill around the drums like we did at the start, right? So the first one goes. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, we normally go to the next beat of the bar, so I put 7 in. So, and. Now it's only going to make sense properly if I put a metronome on. So let's get our talking man back. So let's make him count 8 notes for us. Once he's counting 8 notes, we'll slow it down to say probably about 60 beats a minute. I'm not sure. Maybe even slower than that actually. So he's counting. Oh, I forgot to put his voice on. So
2
1
and 3 and.
So we're playing
4
6s over top of that. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So we're just going to do the 1 to the 2, right? 3
and
4
and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4
Then I figure out the second one.
and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and
Third one.
3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4
And the fourth one.
1
What would that be?
2 and 3
Okay.
and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and
Then the whole thing.
1 and
See if I can do
2
this.
and 3
Fingers
and
crossed.
4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and
Sixes. 2, 1
4
triplet.
and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and
Let's try some faster
4
then. Right? Is
and
everyone with me with what I'm
1
doing there, right?
and 2 and 3 and
Don't worry if you can't get that. Don't worry if you're thinking, I never even want to get that. But at the moment, does that make sense? I want to make sure that you're understanding what I'm trying to get across to you here. So we're taking a linear pattern that just happened to be 8 in length. We did it as it was created to do, to work in 16th notes. Then we said, let's expand it. Let's try it in triplets. Now, sometimes you try these, right, and it'll be a complete train wreck. It'll just be awful. This one kind of works, right? I think if I go a bit faster, it'll fit in there nicely. Let's try it.
1 and 2 and
Ba-ba-da,
3 and
ba-ba-da.
4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 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 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and
Ooh, just got it in there. Just got it in there, right? One of those I screwed up. Play slow motion. You'll catch me. Okay, what else could you do? Well, you could go to extremes, right? I'm not going to do this one now, but just so you get an idea of how far advanced players will go with this stuff. I've done one more on here because this is one I was trying to figure out in my head earlier. Is we may even do it in something like quintuplets. Now, how often do you play quintuplets in your life? I would say most people never, ever. So that's groupings of 5. However, you might sit and do it, right? So with those I count opportunity, opportunity. So I go opportunity, 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 opportunity. Where'd I get to? Oh, sorry, opportunity out. I know that way, alright? So I could sit and do that, but it would take me 10 minutes now. I think you'd be bored out of your brains. Okay, wicked, right. So a couple of people just said thanks for lessons, Taya, not a problem. Pleasure. I just hope you get some out of these lessons. Right, let's start to wrap this up and then we'll have questions, right? So if you've got any questions now, throw them in. I'm just going to quickly pop back up the screen and see which ones I missed. So push and pull, everyone was asking about, I'll talk about that in one moment. Thank you very much. No, pleasure. Right, thanks for the comments. So any questions about anything to do with drumming now, dump them in, all right? So we had the question earlier, what metronome is it? Well, it's just called Pro Metronome. Can I get that up onto that camera? Oops. That's how it looks, right? So you know what you're looking for. It's a pretty cool little metronome. Does everything that I need it to. I'm sure that there's probably super drummer created better ones than that, but for me, it's pretty damn good. I'm not endorsed by them. I wish I was. There's a load of things I'd love to do with that metronome, which would make it so much better. But I don't know. How do you contact an app maker to tell them how to fix their metronome, make it a little bit better? I don't know. Okay, right. So questions. I'm throwing myself here. Right. So push pull. So push pull technique. I'm not going to try and tell you now that I'm awesome at it because I'm not, right? But the push pull technique is something that a lot of people talk about and do. If you want to get the best probably resource to learn how to do it, or an example of it, it's probably a better way of saying it, then you want to buy Jojo Mayer's DVD, which is something like, what's it called? Modern Secrets of the... Oh, I got to get this, hold on. Right, bear with me. I'm not going to leave it at that. I'm going to type this in. Jojo Mayer Secrets. He's got a DVD all about hand techniques, and it's called Secret Weapons for the Modern Drummer. So go check that out. That DVD has got loads of stuff. The problem, I would say, with that DVD is there's too much stuff on there. There's about 50 techniques, and it makes you go like, oh man, I spent 6 months learning this stuff, and then every day you're practicing every different technique. So don't be too worried, right? But just go with the ones that you've heard of or you hear a lot of people talking about. You're going to find that when you through your drumming career, you're going to see lots of people come up with obscure techniques. If you stay in the middle ground, you're not going to go far on. You'll get these odd people who suddenly come up with weird ways of doing stuff that for them makes them awesome, but it's not necessarily for everybody. Push-pull though is in there. So the push-pull has got a few different ways of doing it. And my understanding of the push-pull is literally that our hands open and our hands close. Now, I think he talks about this in the book. If you imagine having water on your hand now and you flick the droplets off and then you pull your hand back up. So flick them off, pull your hand back up. Well, if you just practice doing that to begin with, that gets your hand or your muscles or the signals that are going down doing the right kind of movement. Now, if I hold a stick and do that, it just throws it on the floor, doesn't it? So we obviously have to keep a certain amount of tension or a fulcrum, I should say. So what I'm actually doing is I'm throwing all the fingers off the stick apart from the two that are holding the stick. So it's more like doing that. And what happens then is the stick hits something. For in this case, let's do it on the ride cymbal. So it bounces off and lifts up like this. And then I pull it back down. So that's the motion there. So it's like a little seesaw. Now, the biggest advice I can give you on that is that when you hit the thing you're hitting, you've got to drop the stick lower than it. So see how this hand now, the fulcrum is lower than the rim of that pretend drum here. So that when I pull back up, I've got somewhere to move. If I don't go lower than it, it's really hard to get a second stroke. So if I show you in that position there, let's see I'm going below and up and down. Now that's the exaggerated version of how to do the push-pull, right? I wish I had my practice pad here. So the push-pull just opens and closes. Now if you watch my fingers, do you know what? I'm getting my practice pad. Wait, don't you all go leaving? I'll be literally 3 seconds. I can see it from here to the other side of the room. I just got to unplug this. So I get the practice pad. Now, like I said, there's a disclaimer here. I ain't even that good at push and pull, right? But I use it to an extent, but I don't use it to the extent that people do when they're doing drum clinics. So what we're basically doing is I'm throwing the stick down, it bounces up. Now I'm lower than the pad. I pull it back up. So open, closed, open, close. So I'm basically doing that motion there. Now, if you see Jojo May do that, he'll be doing like this speed with one hand, right? I'm not even going to embarrass myself and try and show you, right? But it's that kind of motion. But look how much energy is being wasted by how much my fingers are open. Look, they're open all the way and coming all the way back. Think how much time there is being wasted by my fingers going all the way open, all the way back. So what Jojo May is training himself to do, and everybody who's kind of very good at this stuff, is you've got to learn to open the fingers just the right amount. And it isn't all the way off. It's just a small amount of opening. So I can't do it in this position, but... So when I'm playing it, I'm not really opening my fingers the way you would learn it. So that's the thing, that advice I'd probably give you is when you go on YouTube and you look up how to play it, someone's going to show you like this, and then they're suddenly going to go crazy fast. Just bear in mind that everything's exaggerated when you learn it, and as you get faster, you're going to make it less and less and less. Now the push and pull though has got another sort of side to it. So the push and pull doesn't have to be this fully opening thing. It can be just that you throw the stick down, don't really open the fingers, and then pull the second thing. What we're really talking about here is the idea of 2 strokes, and the second one is a bit of a grab. So that's all you're doing. You're just closing your fingers like that fast after the second one. I don't use it for playing, say, for instance, doubles. If I play this, and I can do doubles pretty quick, all right? But if you were to get a slow motion camera on me there and see what's happening, I am hitting the drum, and as the stick comes back up, then my fingers kind of grab it again and pull it as it comes back up. So there's a little bit of push-pull, but it's not in my head like it would be if I was doing push-pull like that, like open and close. Does that help you? Hopefully that gives you a bit of information on that. Have we got any other questions? If not, we're going to call it a night. If you have, type it in real quick because I'm about to start wrapping up. So if you've enjoyed these lessons, something that really helps me is 2 things. 1, turn your phone the other way around, press the share button. 2, press the like button. 3, type a comment after we're gone. Tag people in. That's more than 2 things, isn't it, that I'm giving you to do. But the big one is this. If you can go over, if you enjoyed this lesson, go check out my my YouTube channel. If you're watching on YouTube, you already know it's there. I've got a YouTube channel with loads of lessons on, and obviously I think the lessons are good. I'm biased, but what I'm talking about with it, with the reason I'm telling you this is that I'm putting more and more stuff on there at the moment. We're in lockdown, so go over. It's Geoff Fry Drummer. There's loads of lessons on there, loads of reviews, all sorts of stuff, and not that many views actually. I'm a bit disappointed, so I could do with some help over there. So if you go there, you like that stuff, please leave a comment, let me know. The lesson notes from tonight will be after put up on freestylrudiments.com, where they normally are. There's a link in the description to this video. In about 10 minutes I'll put those up, okay? And Al just said an open roll. Yes, yeah. So can I do the blast beat? Yeah, I can do the blast beat, right? So the blast beat would be, so okay, I see where he's going now with the with this stuff. So the open roll then. I think I said about this. I'm gonna do some lessons on open roll at some point. I just haven't done them yet. For me, I really briefly, like really briefly, ridiculously briefly. There's 3 different techniques I would use at different speeds. So slow, I can use any technique. I can just use my wrist. Doesn't matter. I can use my arms. But that speed doesn't matter what technique you use, right? So big muscles are being used. As I get faster, I'm using a bit more of the bounce. So now I'm controlling the stick. So if I hold it in just my little finger like that, so you can see there's hardly any control there. I can still do a double stroke roll because I've got so used to how much pressure to put to get those doubles. Now the extreme stuff, I start to bend from this joint here and I press down. So yeah, that was an open roll. As opposed to close roll where I'm buzzing it in. That's your rolls. And yeah, so the blast beat I do, yeah, so that's a good one. So I'm not really ever got into metal, so I didn't think about that when you were saying about that earlier. So the open close stuff would often be used on the rising, but to keep the speed going, while people are playing the blast beat stuff. Now the open close stuff could be quite useful for that, right? But because I've never played that genre, I've never had to use it. Blast beat. I can kind of bodge, find my way through, but no. There's a book by, I want to say Derek Roddy, and I could be completely wrong with that name, but there's a book called Secrets of Blast Beats or something like that, and I've got that in my library here, so when people come for lessons, I can teach them the different blast beats. There's a lot more blast beats than you imagine, right? So that basic one there, just right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. It's just one variation. So then you might go left hand first. You might go keep the right hand going. There's all sorts, right? There's loads of them. So maybe go and check out that book. I'm sure it is. That's it. Cool. Right. So we're going to finish off there. If you've enjoyed this lesson, like I said, please subscribe. All that stuff. We'll be back tomorrow night, probably actually, with another lesson. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do yet. I better have a quick think. I'm sure I've got something in my diary planned out. So tomorrow evening, 7 o'clock, intermediate. I'm not going to lie to you. The Saturday lessons, I may have to knock on the head quite soon because in the UK we're starting to come out of lockdown. So I'm starting to get a lot of people want lessons again. Not face-to-face yet, but a lot of people are doing Skype lessons with me now. So I might have to stop that one. But we'll see. But certainly tomorrow night, if you've enjoyed this, maybe tell a friend. Come again tomorrow night. If I'm doing something you dig, let me know. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all again soon. Stay safe and all that. Have a good evening. Good night.